Hello, welcome. Shout out to Camila. Thank you, Camila. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Mia. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Matthew. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Happy New Year. Thank you. Happy New Year to everyone as well. I hope this new year brings a lot of happiness, dreams coming true, and a lot of cheer and joy and health. Oh, I'm so happy for you, Abby. Congratulations. Keep going and keep following your dreams. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Avani. Shout out to Liv. Shout out to Jade. Shout out to Arlen. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Aiden. Shout out to Lars. Shout out to Chance. Shout out to Logan. Shout out to Lilia. Shout out to Andrea. Shout out to Kimberly. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Shout out to Ella. Happy New Year. Shout out to Asmita. Shout out to Cameron. Shout out to Selena. Write your name in the chat if you want me to shout you out. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Milena. Shout out to Rosa. Shout out to Alfonso. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Incy. Write your name in the chat if I haven't gotten to you. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to McKinley. Shout out to Ryan. Shout out to Ashlyn. Shout out to Ina. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Celine. Shout out to Muaz. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Martina. Oops. Shout out to Paisley. Hello everyone, welcome. Shout out to Lissy. Happy New Year everyone. Shout out to Summer. Hi Summer. Thank you for dropping in. Shout out to Danielle. Shout out to Holland. Shout out to Carter. Shout out to Aisha. Shout out to Sienna. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to, is it Charlie? Or Charlay? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Madeline and May. Shout out to Caleb. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Genesis. Hello everyone, welcome. Thank you for being here. Happy New Year. Shout out to Presley. Shout out to Kishelle. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Yukina. Shout out to Sandesh. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Thea. Shout out to Beatrice. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Danara. Shout out to Ashlyn. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Tuana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Myra. Shout out to Kamaya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Crystal. Shout out to Payu. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Mila. Shout out to Paul. Happy New Year. Shout out to Floretta. Shout out to Ginger. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Lay. Shout out to Bradley. Shout out to Zoe. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Bellamy. Hello everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Bryce. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Presley. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Alina. Shout out to Angela. Whoops. Shout out to, let me write your name again because I kind of messed up. Shout out to Angela. There we go. Shout out to Amanda. Thank you everyone for your patience. Shout out to Breon. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Brooklyn. Thank you everyone for taking the time to write your name. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Diego. Shout out to Rosalind. Shout out to Summer. Shout out to Abby. Shout out to Katie. Oops, Katie. Shout out to, I kind of messed up. Let me write it again. Here we go. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Ashok. Happy New Year. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Cassie. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year. I hope everyone has a really great New Year and you all reach your goals, reach your dreams. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of this. It means a lot to me and I appreciate you being here. Shout out to Kayla. Shout out to Holly. Shout out to Kendall. Shout out to Alessandra. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Ness. Shout out to Leanna. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Marnie. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Jordan. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Robert. Shout out to Fabian. Shout out to Alea. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Myra. Shout out to, is it Clecia and Kai? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Kai. Shout out to Star. Shout out to Adeline. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Win. Shout out to, is it Chrisley? Shout out to Skylar, can you write the name again? I'm sorry. Shout out to Trenton. Shout out to Veronica. Shout out to Johnny. Shout out to Zulema. Shout out to Xavier. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Jessa. Shout out to Kyler. Shout out to DJ. Thank you for writing it again. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Deborah. Shout out to Rojas. Shout out to Isa. Shout out to Malachi. Shout out to Brianna. Shout out to Estelle. Shout out to Arfa. Shout out to Cheryl. Shout out to Jenna. Shout out to King. Shout out to Angela. Shout out to Kamoya. Shout out to Ayana. Shout out to Galil. Shout out to, is it Mallory? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Monica. Shout out to Cam. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Shadow. Shout out to Ruth Ann. Shout out to Manon. Shout out to Luz. Shout out to Helen. Shout out to Kyler. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Yumi. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Maxine. Shout out to Mary. Shout out to Kamoya. Shout out to Kendall. Shout out to Manuel. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Juniper. Shout out to Aria. Or Araya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Leona. Shout out to Asher. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Kiana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Eiler. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Patricia. Shout out to Laura. Excuse me. Shout out to Nicole. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Shout out to Lucas. Shout out to Channing. Shout out to Rafaela. Shout out to Kyla. Or Kylia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Day. Shout out to Annie. Shout out to Ruby. Shout out to Blake. Shout out to Esther. Shout out to Alran. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Tatiana. Shout out to Stella. Shout out to Sabrina. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Pauline. Shout out to Rochelle. Shout out to Nevaeh. Shout out to Yuri. Shout out to Lena. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to these people. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you taking the time to be here. Write your name in the chat if I haven't shouted you out. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you so much for your support. I'm truly thankful to have viewers, to have people commenting and you know, being here. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for being here. Shout out to Thomas. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Denise. Shout out to Karan. Shout out to Carter. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Alice. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Luann. Shout out to Freya. Shout out to Sadie. Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Evelyn. Shout out to Maggie. Shout out to McKenna. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Jalen. Shout out to Jules. Shout out to Zaylin. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Brantley. Shout out to Eliza. Shout out to Aria. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Paul. Shout out to Kenzie. Shout out to Evie or Evie. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Aurora. Shout out to Manon. Shout out to Layla. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Liam. Shout out to, is it BB or Bebe? Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Rosie. Shout out to M. Shout out to Nevada. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Virginia. Shout out to Kinley. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Yunche. Shout out to Adriana. Shout out to, is it Juja? Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Haley. Shout out to Nalani. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Denise. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Veronica. Shout out to Elizabeth. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Harley. Thank you so much for your patience. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to David. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Isabella. Shout out to Kennedy. Shout out to Julissa. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Robbie. Shout out to Andre. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Ari. Shout out to Megan. Oh no, I think I spelled it wrong. Yeah, give me 1 second. Shout out to Megan. There we go. Shout out to Lauren. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Maggie. Shout out to Lacey. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Ashlyn. Did I spell that correctly? I don't think I did. Ashlyn. No, I did it wrong. Shout out to Ashlyn. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Gianna. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Penny. Shout out to, oh my goodness, sorry, the live stream goes really fast sometimes and I can't see. Shout out to Michaela. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Charlie. Shout out to Layla. Shout out to Jimmy. Shout out to Biba. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Athena. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Remy. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Camila. Happy New Year. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Alexandra. Shout out to Samantha. Shout out to Lucia. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Alisa. Shout out to Bailey. Thank you so much for your patience. Shout out to Sophie. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to Darja. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Teddy. Shout out to Beverly. Shout out to Skylar. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Valerie. Shout out to DeJour. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you so much for being here. Happy New Year, everyone. I hope this new year brings you a lot of happiness and joy and good health. And I hope everyone reaches their dreams or goals. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you either subscribing or stumbling upon my channel. I truly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Shout out to Ava. It means a lot to me. It truly does. And I wish everyone nothing but the best. Shout out to Harper. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Cecilia. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Viana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Please forgive me. Shout out to Renee. Shout out to Faith. Shout out to Ella. Shout out to Jessica. Shout out to Aranza. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Delaney. Shout out to Walter. Shout out to Aaron. Shout out to Nora. Shout out to Alexandra. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Lola. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Cassie. Shout out to Evan. Shout out to Ray. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Naomi. Shout out to Reagan. Thank you so much for your patience. Thank you for being here. Shout out to Kyla, or Kayla. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Dakota. Shout out to River. Shout out to Ivy. Shout out to Gianna. Shout out to Amy. Shout out to Lorelai. Shout out to Yetzali. Shout out to Sienna. Shout out to Alisa. Shout out to Bethany. Shout out to Ceci. Shout out to Lorena. Shout out to Rose. Shout out to Janae. Oops, Janae. Oops, I spelled your name wrong. Janae, can you spell your name again? Shout out to Carolina. Shout out to Labiba. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Sierra. Shout out to Angeline. Thank you for subscribing. Also, thank you to the person that sent me like a super chat or a chat. I forget what they're called. Shout out to Bella. Thank you so much to that person. I truly appreciate it. I appreciate your support. Shout out to Zova. Shout out to Callie. Shout out to Brooklyn. Shout out to Giselle. Shout out to Orion. Shout out to Lena. Shout out to Aubrey. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Walker. Shout out to Brandy. Shout out to Tyson. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Victoria. Shout out to Natalie. Shout out to Coco. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Yael. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kate. Shout out to Giovanna. Shout out to Estefania. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Sue. Shout out to Genesis. Shout out to Alfonso. Shout out to Gerali's. Shout out to Aries Beta. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Mocha. Shout out to DK. Shout out to Zara. Shout out to Destiny. Shout out to Yuri. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Austin. Thank you everyone for your patience. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Isol. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Yumi. Shout out to DK. Shout out to Viviana. Shout out to D'Angelo. Shout out to, is it Ginny or Jean? Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Diasha. Sorry if I mispronounced her name. Shout out to Helma. Shout out to Eliana. Shout out to Elle. Shout out to Mia. Shout out to Bubba. Shout out to Haley. Shout out to Isad. Shout out to Michaela. Shout out to Myra. Shout out to Jolie. Shout out to Silly Squad. Shout out to Tallulah. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. On to the next page. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Also, thank you for your patience. I know I'm not the fastest writer, especially when the chat goes really fast. So I appreciate your patience with me. Shout out to Stephanie. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to Leon. Or Leon. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Maddie. Shout out to Leah. Shout out to Milani. Shout out to Serena. Shout out to Brooke. Shout out to Yana. Shout out to Serenity. Shout out to Kanaya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Vicky. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Riley. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Cookie. Shout out to Isla. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Melina. Shout out to Abigail. Shout out to Kristen. Shout out to Sela. Shout out to Gina. Shout out to Kira or Kiara. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Hugo. Shout out to Sarah. Shout out to Layla Taylor. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Esmeralda. Shout out to Cyrus. Shout out to Hallie or Hale. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Elizabeth. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Andrea. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Isabel. Shout out to Morgan. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Fatima. Shout out to Sokaina. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Tallulah. Shout out to Matthew. Shout out to Eve. Shout out to Maite. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Dial. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Zaylee. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Carolina. Shout out to Lauren Welsh. Shout out to Amelia. Shout out to Lexi. Shout out to Madison. Shout out to Romy. Shout out to Momo. Shout out to Martha. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Lynn. Shout out to Husna. Shout out to Kinsley. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Ollie. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Cosmo. Shout out to Paul. Shout out to... Hi Mirror Dragon. Thank you so much for your support. Shout out to Mirror Dragon. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Mateo. Shout out to Daniela. Shout out to Nova. Shout out to Marco. Shout out to Esmeralda. Shout out to Dasani. Thank you for your patience. Shout out to Tiffany. Shout out to Kyla or Kayla. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Macy. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jess. Thank you so much for being here. And also thank you for your patience. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to Presley. Shout out to Belly. Shout out to Marissa. Shout out to Annika. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kashik. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Anastasia. Shout out to Claudine. Is it Claudine? Did I get it correctly? Claudine. Shout out to Claudine. Shout out to Harini. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Maham. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Natalia. Shout out to Anastasia. Oh, I got you. Shout out to Anastasia. Shout out to Amaya. Shout out to Ata. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to, thank you, Aaliyah. Shout out to Aaliyah. Shout out to Morgan. Shout out to Jane. Shout out to Abby. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to, was it Edward? Shout out to Edward. Shout out to Mason. Shout out to Jose. Shout out to Rylan. Shout out to Rayvon. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Bo. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you so much for being here. Also, thank you for your patience in writing your name. I know I'm not the fastest writer, so I appreciate you being here and taking the time to write your name. Shout out to Theodore. Shout out to Heba. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Tiago. Shout out to Jacaden. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Aurelie. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Diana. Shout out to Aaron Vin. Shout out to Veda or Vita. Shout out to Elliot. Shout out to Nara. Shout out to Olivia. Shout out to Ryder. Shout out to Zaid. Shout out to Dahlia. Shout out to Carla. Shout out to Tanner. Shout out to Jayla. Shout out to Costello. Shout out to Mukti. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Corey. Shout out to Gian. Shout out to Gavin. Shout out to Maria. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Kaylin. Shout out to Adriana. Thank you. Shout out to Roscoe. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Eric. Shout out to Phoenix. Shout out to Zenaya. Shout out to Chloe. Shout out to Marwa. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Iris. Shout out to Max. Shout out to Dasani. Shout out to Bryden. Shout out to Teekju. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Carrot. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Dakota. Shout out to Amir. Shout out to Carolina. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Megan. Shout out to Autumn. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Aria. Shout out to Denise. Shout out to Jalen. Shout out to Maham. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Kylie. Shout out to Annika. Shout out to Alani. Shout out to Roscoe. Shout out to Allison. Shout out to Isad. Shout out to Tristan. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to, is it Sheldon? Sheldon. Shout out to, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Jubies Gruda? Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Bella. Shout out to Harain. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sasha. Shout out to Steven. Shout out to Riri. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Gerard. Shout out to Sierra. Shout out to Cam. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Miriam. Shout out to Chenny. Shout out to Vivian. Shout out to Jake. Shout out to Audrey. Thank you for your patience. I truly appreciate it. Shout out to Alina. Shout out to Ulysses. Ulysses. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Megana. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Nylia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Sharvik. Shout out to Abdul. Shout out to Kaylin. Shout out to Briseda. Shout out to Freya. Shout out to Gabby. Shout out to Yumi. Shout out to Rainier. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Patricia. Shout out to Zoe. Shout out to, what was it? Shout out to Penelope. Shout out to Jocelyn. Shout out to Justin. Shout out to, Kimberlyn? Shout out to Nishida. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Josephine. Shout out to Luke. Shout out to Isa. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to Aisha. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Thank you for your patience. Please write your name down if I haven't gotten to you. I truly appreciate you being here and taking the time to write your name. Happy New Year, everyone. Wishing you all the best this new year. Shout out to Abram. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Kelsey. Shout out to Chin. Shout out to Vani. Shout out to Kashik. Shout out to Vitus. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Eliza. Shout out to Camila. Shout out to Nyla. Shout out to Leo. Shout out to Haley. Shout out to Shania. Shout out to Nicole. Shout out to Lucy. Shout out to Kendra. Shout out to Marco. Shout out to Jalen. Shout out to Lisa. Shout out to Gabriel. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. I would truly appreciate it. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Keegan. Shout out to Tyler. Shout out to Chrissy. Shout out to Kendra, I got you. Shout out to Melody. Shout out to Jillian. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Did I spell it correctly? Shout out to London. Shout out to Kaisley. Shout out to Abilene. Shout out to Raina. Shout out to Izzy. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Vivi. Shout out to Laura. Shout out to Anna. Shout out to Jen. Shout out to Courtney. Shout out to Claire. Shout out to Julia. Shout out to Scarlett. Shout out to Annika. Shout out to Alize. Shout out to Santiago. Shout out to Jariel. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Hannah. Shout out to Sarai. Shout out to John. Shout out to Nayeli. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Sophia. Shout out to Abigail. Shout out to Dakota. Shout out to Lily. Shout out to Bailey. Shout out to Jacob. Shout out to Orion. Shout out to Karsha. Shout out to Ember. Shout out to Azusa. Izzy, I got you. Right here. John, I got you. Right here. Shout out to Alexa. Shout out to Atsiri. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Rylan. Shout out to Halia. Shout out to Ashley. Shout out to Jaina. Shout out to Bianca. Shout out to Ivor. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sabrina. Shout out to Dawson. Shout out to Victoria and Julia. Good luck on your competition. You got this. Wishing you all the best. Shout out to Shani. My name's Ness from NessDIYcorner. I do shout outs and I also do post other content on my channel that I hope you can check out as well. Shout out to Amani. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Riker. Shout out to Courtney. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Colton. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Kirat. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Cadence. Shout out to Arixia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Addison. Shout out to Raya. Shout out to Soon Min. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Shout out to Carson. Shout out to Valentina. Shout out to Kayla. Is it Akayla? Shout out to Scott. Shout out to Nicolo. Shout out to Quinn. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Jimena. Shout out to Lavinia. Shout out to Dominic. I'm gonna put Dominic over here so your name fits. Shout out to Elle. Happy birthday. Shout out to Bushra. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm gonna write your name again because I kind of messed up. There we go. Shout out to Eliza. Shout out to Kayla. Happy birthday. Shout out to Shaya. Shout out to Myla. Thank you for subscribing. Shout out to these people. On to the next page. Happy New Year, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope everyone has a great new year. And I'm wishing you all the best. Also, thank you so much for being here. Also, thank you for your patience. I know I write a little bit slow, so I appreciate you taking the time to write your name. Shout out to Noah. Shout out to Cody. Shout out to Jaden. Shout out to Alina. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to Adelina. Shout out to Chelsea. Shout out to Miriam. Shout out to Renee. Shout out to Samra. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Katie. Shout out to Holly. Shout out to Sophie. Happy New Year. Shout out to Michaela. Shout out to Ariel. Or Ariel. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Omar. Shout out to Jay. Shout out to Nessila. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Claire. Shout out to Biles. Shout out to Eddie. Shout out to Nasli. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jesus. Shout out to Mimi. Shout out to Christian. Shout out to Everly or Everly. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ava. Shout out to Kalsum. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Emery. Shout out to Dial or Dale. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Kavia or Kavaya. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Dalen. Shout out to Romani. Shout out to Madison. Hello everyone, welcome. Happy New Year. Shout out to Avery. Shout out to Francis. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Ratil. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Emmeline. Whoopsie. Shout out to Floriana. Shout out to Dakota. Shout out to, is it Janice or Janice? Sorry if I mispronounce her name. Shout out to Troy. Shout out to Roxanne. Shout out to Mohammed. Shout out to Jamelia. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Maya. Shout out to Emily. Shout out to Xander. Shout out to Mohana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Chloe. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Mava. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Kashik. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Fabrun. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Holly. Shout out to Alazi. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Lyra. Shout out to Grace. Shout out to Noelle. Shout out to Patrick. Shout out to Gojo. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Aruk. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Jasmine. Shout out to Abigail. Shout out to Elena. Shout out to Manuel. Shout out to Ivani. Leave a like if you're enjoying the live stream. Shout out to Graciela. Shout out to Obed. Shout out to Gala. Shout out to Jess. Shout out to Anaya. Shout out to Brianna. Shout out to Kaylin. Shout out to Ruthie. Shout out to Macy. Shout out to Ron. Shout out to Miles. Shout out to Luna. Shout out to Billy. Shout out to Kaylee. Shout out to Tristan. Shout out to Stitch. Shout out to Audrey. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to Saira, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Sam. Shout out to John. Shout out to Emma. Shout out to Angel. Shout out to Dreliana. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Will. Shout out to Amina. Or Amena. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. Shout out to Alondra. Shout out to Kat. Shout out to Maxine. Whoopsie, I don't know why I put that. Maxine. Shout out to Angeli. Shout out to Josiah. Shout out to Yan. Shout out to Tessa. Shout out to these people. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate your time. I'm wishing everyone a happy new year. I am so grateful that you take the time to be here. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much. It means a lot to me. I live stream every day, so I hope you can subscribe so you know when I will be live streaming. Take care, everyone. Happy New Year to everyone. Wishing you all the best. Take care. Bye.